Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 25th, and it is a La Plata Electric Association Board of Directors meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag
of
of
the
the
United
United
States of
States of
America
America
and to the
and to the
republic for which
republic
it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and
with
justice
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all. Okay, our next item of business is the agenda review and approval. I will open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Nicole.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to make an addition to the agenda under Section 8, Board Action. I'd like to propose that we add item D, a update from Executive Committee and potential action to ratify actions taken by the Executive Committee.
Okay, all in
Second.
favor with, okay, we got Kohler. Got all in favor of the amendment as offered by Director Compton, signal by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, looks like that passes unanimously. Our next item of business is the safety moment. Kirsten, you got something for us this morning?
Oh, Jerry, for that one.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Jerry.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
So
morning.
recently we had our training that got brought up because someone saw a video on one of the social media platforms. And it was a huge success story about an Amber Alert. A moving company had been trained on what to do when they receive an Amber Alert, how to respond, and they got an Amber Alert and ended up finding the vehicle and saving a young girl because they were paying attention and listened to their training. So we did the same thing. We held a training on human trafficking, and 27 million people are being trafficked at any given time, and it is. Thank you. Sorry. Um, it doesn't always involve kidnapping. It is, sorry about that. Many victims know or trust the trafficker. Someone that warning signs to look for, someone that appears controlled by another person. Signs of poor living conditions, lack of personal ID, fearfulness, anxiousness, people that avoid eye contact. What to do? Call a hotline. There is a human trafficking hotline that they received over 10,000 cases per year that they monitor and actually help these people out. They had occurrences in all 50 states, and it doesn't always have to happen in big cities. So we told our guys, just be aware when you're out in the field. You guys are out in the field and you have the eyes on things more than we do in the office. You could save somebody's life. You could save them from a kidnapping or from trafficking or from a poor situation. So it's a real thing, and it's just something that we want our guys to be aware of. They're out there. And I'm sorry about the interruption.
That's okay. Thank you, Jerry, for that very somber safety meeting minute or safety meeting you provided. And now we'll move over to Kirsten with
Thank
our
you,
board
Nicole.
education.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So last month, Greg and I attended SPP training up in Denver, in Westminster. It was called Blurring the Lines. And what it's blurring the lines between is market and reliability, that there's two ways, or actually they're blended in how SPP makes sure everybody gets the energy they need, and it's all market driven, which I think was I didn't really think of it that way before, that it's really the money that is driving stuff and the most effective way to buy electricity. And that's how SPP always looks at things. What is the most efficient, effective, least expensive way to move stuff around? And that's how people bid in. So it was very good. At the end of today's board packet, you will see I have a several page report of it. If nothing else, look at the glossary, you guys. We are in a whole new world of acronyms. So do take a look at that. And it was somewhat overwhelming. It was for a first time exposure to SPP jargon. It was a bit much. There is a class coming up called Lighting the Way, which is a more basic and more maybe more in our certainly more in my vocabulary. So I encourage you guys to look that one up and think about attending. The training is free, but of course there's travel to get there. I think it's going to be up in Westminster again. Greg mentioned that at that training, I had an opportunity to sing Sweet Caroline in front of everybody, and I will not do a reprise of that. That's my gift to you today. Any questions about SPP and blurring the lines? Joe.
So I have to ask, was the singing a punishment or the
Well, it was really interesting. I actually learned probably more about new techniques in adult education than I did about SPP in that class because it's pretty dry material. They were doing everything. There were little breaks after every topic, and one of them was name the song, name the writer, and you get extra points if you sing it. So, I'm a glutton for extra points, so that's what happened.
Thank you. Sorry.
Any other questions for Kirsten?
Just a comment.
Kirsten?
I was just going to say, the blurring of the lines blurred my eyes. That was a very dense report. Thank you for sharing and attempting to translate for us.
Were you using it for sleep method trying? Yeah, it's a dense one. You try it again because it does sink in over time, and I think it will behoove all of us to get to know what some of this means. Thank you.
Kirsten, always grateful for you keeping us apprised of relevant training educations. I also noticed that you kind of said, hey, if this is a little out of your league, start here, and offered a more of an intro level to the SPP RTO world, to use a couple acronyms. Okay, so now moving on to the next part of agenda, it is public comment. So Graham, if you could please introduce that for our members.
Thank you, Nicole. The board encourages comments about the cooperative from its members. The board will take all member comments under consideration, but it will not necessarily provide a response during the member comment period. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to cooperative business. Those wanting to address the board during the public comment period are granted 5 minutes to address their topics, and there should be a timer visible on the screen to track your time. Lengthy comments to the board should be submitted in writing. Formal complaints must be filed in writing and submitted in compliance with applicable board policy. Comments from the public will be directed to the entire board and not to any individual. No personal attacks shall be allowed. Failure to follow these requirements may cause the public comment period to be terminated. Copies of our cooperative policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available on the cooperative website.
Okay, thank you, Graham. And with that, if I can see let me add, or I'll pull up the list of participants. If you want to raise your hand, I see 3 hands raised. We will start with Miss Karen Pontius. And you are muted. There we go. Yes.
All right, I'm Karen Pontius. I live in LPEA District 3. I've been a member for almost 10 years. I'm so happy we are exiting the contract with Tri-State in 7 days. Congratulations to all the board members who have worked so diligently towards this incredible goal. It couldn't have happened without a board that is looking to the future. I also want to give big thanks to outgoing board member Rachel Landis for her forward-looking service to my district. After 2 decades of being limited to only 5% of our energy produced locally, we can finally buy a better mix of energy on the market. We would have been stuck in that limited contract with Tri-State until 2050. That's just unimaginable to me. Colorado is in the top 10 of sunniest states in the country. I thought we were way up on the top, but I guess it varies. So top 10 is good. The opportunity for more solar is endless. I have solar panels on my home and would love to see LPA improve their infrastructure so more and more rooftop solar can be installed. Energy independence is a worthwhile goal for this country, yet I see so many people clinging to the past, wanting to drill for oil in vulnerable areas and keep extracting fossil fuels indefinitely, or start wars over other countries' oil supplies. Instead, let's keep innovating with renewable sources and save our ecosystems. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Miss Pontius. And next we will go to Z. Peters.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's Dave Peters. I must have been a typo in there. So, good morning. I'm a LPEA member in the Durango district. Right now LPEA is possibly making big moves on future power supplies at a time when energy supplies, demand, and geopolitical events are at historically high volatility. There are plenty of experts who have written on the subjects, and their conclusions advance real concerns and questions on what exactly is LPEA's forward strategy. We members hear little of the strategy detail from LPEA, and I guess this is all discussed in power supply executive sessions. LPEA needs to be holding public board sessions and workshops to discuss the pros and cons of their power supply strategies. We are members and owners, and the plans implemented could have a major impact on our livelihoods in the future. So far, it seems the members have been left out of the discussions on the risk and possible rewards of the LPEA plans. Members really have very few rights at this point, and it seems like LPEA is somewhat of a laboratory, and our members are the guinea pigs here going forward. The leading expert on energy and economics is a Pulitzer Prize winner named Daniel Yergin. His most read book is called The Prize, which covers the history of the oil and energy in the world. It's a long book, but worth reading, and shows historical events are repeating once again. Historically, every war was in part about securing energy to gain power and economic advantage, which led to energy market volatility. Most recently, Yergin said that the U.S. is facing an unprecedented convergence of rapid demand growth for AI and heightened geopolitical risks from the Middle East conflict, creating the perfect storm that is expected to reshape the electric grid by 2030. Electric demand is growing at the fastest pace in over a decade. Further, here's what's likely to happen to U.S. electricity markets. Significant price spikes and volatility, rising costs to electric consumers being 15 to 40% by 2030, market volatility from Middle East conflict driving oil and gas higher, compounding the cost of rising AI demand. Some experts are saying that moving from a long-term electric contract to a power broker like Mercura Energy America will expose LPEA to global market fluctuations. One example is United Power, which saw significant rate increases after they left Tri-State. If you hadn't, you should look at another energy market that was deregulated in the past, which was the natural gas industry. While intended to lower prices, deregulation cause significant short-term price fluctuations for industrial and residential users. Initial regulatory adjustments, such as those in the 70s, failed to immediately balance supply and demand, leading to regional shortages. The transition created extremely complicated and time-consuming litigation and Federal Power Commission proceedings over new pricing and supply contracts. The separation of power generation from transmission and supply created challenges in coordinating energy delivery, particularly during peak demand and market shifts. Small customers and local distribution companies had to navigate new buying responsibilities,
30 seconds.
shifting risk away from pipelines and consumers. I understand you have a lot invested over many years in the tri-state buyout, but members need to understand if you've adequately addressed the many new variables that are affecting us today and for many years to come. More two-way dialogue with members is needed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Our next member is Miss Kelly Haggerty.
Hi, thank you. I just had to lower my hand. I've got a couple things. Well, first of all, I will say I continue to hear, this is Kelly Haggerty, District 4. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I continually hear misinformation about Tri-State. I just want to point out, and this is not my comment today, but Tri-State has a renewable portfolio that is meeting state statute. So it's a misnomer to suggest that they don't have renewables. And then they significantly updated the flexibility with their contracts with their membership. So I just want to point that out as we move forward. But the reason I'm talking to you today is I had a policy 108 request that I submitted, and I'd like to share an experience with you. And then I want a simple request to the board. It took over 3 months for me to request, or pardon me, for my request to be fulfilled. And it was for fairly basic information. I submitted a policy 108 request for detailed budget, line by line accounting data. During that time period, that 3-month time period, I received several different responses. First, I was actually told that the information could not be provided, just flat out. Then I was told it didn't exist in the format that I requested. And then after I followed up with Colorado revised statutes pushing the issue, the response changed. I was asked then to provide a statement explaining why I wanted the information, essentially how I plan to use it, and that it would take additional staff time and that I would have to pay in advance for that staff time to compile data. So the net, I paid $150 and I received most of the information, but I think, and thank you, but I think this points to a bigger issue. This wasn't sensitive or unusual data. It was basic accounting detail, and it was information that most organizations already track as part of their normal operations and budget. In fact, it's probably likely the same level of detail reviewed by you all during internal budget discussions. So it was concerning how difficult it was for me to access. And then, frankly, the practical question, how many members have time, resources, persistence to follow through on that type of a process? So I think that raises a question. Is that fair to members? And once I did receive the information, I want to point out some of the things I noticed. For example, I didn't know this till the information came, $490,000 in legal expenses, about $614,000 in outside contractor costs, and about $2.9 million in employee benefits, which that actually came in roughly 80% higher than what was budgeted. So that would be something that's not a criticism, but that's just something that basic financials members would appreciate knowing. So from a member owner perspective, this is the information we should be able to access easily without delay. And I do want to compare, I got online for La Plata County. I don't know if you realize, but La Plata County has line by line detail all the way down to the copy paper. You can pull where our money goes in La Plata County. That's a public-facing entity, so I feel like that is a very doable request for La Plata LPEA. So that is my request. I would request from this board to please add a link on the webpage where members can actually access high-level I'm sorry, detailed, not high level, not year-end high level, because we get the little year-end promotional packages, but the detailed financial data, line by line expenses, it truly would be how members could understand where our money's actually going. So it is being done by other public entities. I believe the information is readily available, and I would appreciate that same level of open and transparency on our site. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Haggerty. Our next caller is Mr. Chris Jurgen. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you for the time. My name, as you said, is Chris Jurgen. No relation to the author that I'm aware of. But I am actually reaching out to you to make initial contact. I am a board member with the Southwest La Plata Library District, and I am making initial contact with you guys in hopes of establishing a strategic partnership for a long-term relationship regarding facility usage. As you may know, our library is located, we have one of our branches located at the Sunnyside Elementary School. Currently, the school district is making a big push to have some pretty big restructuring efforts in the next 12 to 15 months. We expect to see that school no longer in use. What their future use is for that building isn't known, but we are seeking a partnership with LPEA in the interest of establishing more secure, more stable, long-term facilities for Sunnyside, for the Sunnyside branch of the Southwest La Plata Library District. I can be reached at chris.jurgen.swlpld@gmail.com. And I would really like to contact either board members or staff members who have interest in this area of responsibility. Thank you very much.
Trying to jot that email address down, but hopefully somebody else got it. Our next caller is Mr. Brian Rogers.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you. My name is Brian Rogers, and I am a member in District 3. I just want to say that it appears to me that LPEA is in a place where our members are benefiting from y'all's leadership and choices. Wholesale power costs are down around 15% from my understanding, and that is around 2/3 of our overall costs, which is really taking pressure off of our members in a time where utility bills are going up across the country. People are looking at the gas pumps and are facing, hardship as monthly costs continue to grow. So the fact that our members are not seeing a rate increase right now is extremely beneficial for our community and has economic impacts beyond just what's happening at LPEA. Local businesses benefit from this as well with more discretionary income. It's hard not to think that rates wouldn't be rising significantly if we were still under contract with Tri-State. Speaking on that to a little bit further, LPA isn't alone in this shift from exiting Tri-State. Alan Best noted in an article out this morning that co-ops across the West have been leaving Tri-State in pursuit of more flexibility and local control. He cited some recent court decisions that brought more clarity and fairness to the exit process, which I think can give us more confidence that our transition and contract in that transition was the right move. And I think this does continue to seem like a turning point as we finalize leaving our contract at the end of this month. Members do care about clean local power, and this is a chance to continue building in that direction. Projects like Sunnyside solar expansion with battery storage are exciting and feel like exactly where we need to be heading. This technology will continue to improve, especially with battery storage, and we have more opportunities to grow local energy in a way that's reliable and cost-effective for members. So continue to push and move in this direction. This is also a way for LPA to invest in our community. We appreciate the work that you're all doing to keep things affordable while also moving us towards a more local renewable energy future. those two pieces are compatible, and we need to continue to realize that and move forward. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Hey, thank you very much, Mr. Rogers. Do we have any more public comment? I don't see any hands right now. All right, see. Are you okay, John? Yep. Okay. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public comment period. And as is my practice, I'd like to just kind of let you know what I heard. We heard some excitement about leaving Tri-State in 1 week from today. Also, that there need to be more public workshops on our power supply strategies and the foreign impact on energy cost. I think that's something everyone is seeing and feels uneasy about. We heard about one member's Policy 108 request experience. It was comparing us to La Plata County and their government practice. I also heard a specific member asking for initial contact with the Southwest La Plata Library District. And I'm kind of relying on one of our staff to have taken down that. Thank you. And make sure that we follow up. And then also we heard about the community impact to keeping rates stable. Talked a little bit about co-ops that are leaving Tri-State and the recent 10th Circuit appellate decision, which affirmed the strategy that we were using. I do want to make a comment. Last month, we had a great question from a member about how we were doing on our strategic goal. And as you may or may not know, La Plata Electric has one strategic goal, and that is to, and that drives everything we do, and that's to, we want to keep our members' cost of electricity lower than 70% of our Colorado cooperative peers, and that we will reduce our carbon footprint by 80% from 2005 levels by 2030. And they asked, where are we on that goal? So I followed up with staff on that because I think that's a great question. At the end of last year, we were right at 70%, so right on track with our affordability goal. And then right now, we're at 30% decarbonization with Tri-State. In 1 week from now, once we change our power supply, that is going to increase to 50%, and we are on track for 80% by 2030. There's been some discussion about the wisdom of leaving Tri-State. Obviously, that's not something we're going back on now. And one of the things that I've found to be really difficult about this whole experience is all of the strict non-disclosure agreements that we've had from Tri-State. And I wish that our members could see the information we've been able to see. But what I can say is that 5 co-ops have filed their notice to withdraw in the last 4 months. So I think that people who have intimate knowledge in the workings of Tri-State. So April 1st, I think couldn't come fast enough is where we're standing. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public comment period. Or I guess I already did. Now we're going to move to the consent board items. I will accept a motion for the consent board agenda.
So moved by Rachel.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Moving on to our CEO and staff reports. I actually was contacted by a director who said, please encourage members who maybe just come for public comment to stay for the dashboard, because this is a great opportunity to get a broad look at what is going on at La Plata Electric. So obviously, we welcome public comment if you have to come and go, but if you have the ability to stick around, this is a great opportunity to hear where we are across all the different areas of running this electric utility. With that, I will hand it over to Chris.
All right. Thank you, President Pitcher, and great to be with everyone this morning, and happy to share our latest dashboard. And we debuted this new format last month, made a few adjustments based on your feedback, and continue to try to improve this month by month, but excited to have this second version to share with you this morning. You can see at the bottom here, we'll always have our mission, our goals, and our vision, and readily available for everyone to remind ourselves each month of the critical tasks that we've set for ourselves as a co-op. So with that, let's go on to the first slide. I did want to mention as a way of introduction, I appreciate Mr. Peters mentioning Daniel Jurgen in his opening comments. I worked for 10 years for Dan Jurgen, and yeah, know the prize sort of forward and backwards, and appreciate the discussion about some of the geopolitical issues that are happening right now and how they may or may not affect us, and that's something that we're looking at very carefully as we continue to manage the operations here at the co-op. With that, let's dive into the KPI dashboard. A lot of continued good news on our metrics here, and green check marks in our first three categories. You can see there continue to make progress on things like beneficial electrification and installed batteries. We just hit the mark. Our uptimes and our reliability continue to be very strong. I will say one of the advantages of a winter without a lot of storms is that we had less pressure on our system as a result. And while we've had some trees fall down and some cars hitting some poles and all the normal sorts of things, I really want to celebrate our great SAIDI and SAIFI numbers, our reliability numbers here at the top of the page. And that continues to be a huge focus for us on our reliability metrics. If we look down toward the bottom of the KPI dashboard, a few areas kind of in line with where we've been the last several months. We have run a little bit skinnier on our cash reserves in an effort to reduce our borrowing costs. That will continue to improve over the next several months, is our expectation as per our budget, but we are slightly under our benchmarks at the moment. Also want to point out that our equity percentage at 57%, that is about to change because of our CTP payment that will be transferred on March 30th. So this will be the last time you see a 57 on the page for a while, and we'll continue to track that as per our new metrics on the equity side, but just wanted to point out where we've got the needs attention markers on this dashboard. With that, let's go ahead and go on to slide number 3. A few things I wanted to point out here. Huge amount of work this last month on vegetation management. Again, one of the upsides of the more mild winter was we were able to make more progress on that in February than we otherwise might in a more average weather year. And I'll show a map of that in just a second. But 758 spans that we were able to mitigate with our contractor. Made really great progress on that in February. On the reliability side, wanted to point out, I know, Kohler, I think you're out in the Rafter J area, did a big reconductor project out there and puts us at 21% of our capital works projects by the end of February, which is a great spot to be in. Again, taking advantage of the more mild weather to get some of that work knocked out early in the year. This one, want to especially point out for Director Wheeler, we've had really good progress in the winter months getting pole attachment orders in the system and getting many of those in the construction phase. You can see there on the fourth point in the second column the latest statistics there. That work now begins in earnest. We've got the attachment orders and the construction orders ready to go, and you'll see continued updates on that in March and April of how many of those are completed. But just to reiterate for the board, we're working diligently to make sure there's no delay on our side when it comes to getting broadband attachments done. I should also point out that we were able to replace several hundred poles with that work, and that will continue to track as well. So a really great win-win for our members, both because we're able to update some of the poles and get these attachments done in a really timely manner to help support that build-out of broadband in our area. The last thing to point out here is a couple of really interesting case studies. I've been encouraging our teams from the leadership team on down to continue to look for opportunities to integrate AI tools into our work. There's, I think, a really important shift that has happened in the last 6 months with the AI tools as we've kind of gone from what I referred to as sort of the super search engines and the writing tools, which we're maybe all a little bit familiar with. But now we've really moved into agentic AI, where you create an agent to do a piece of work for you and really is making our employees that much more efficient. A couple of examples here from the GRIP team and from our doing things like our podcasts, using AI to help speed up the editing process of those podcasts. So just a couple of examples. I'll continue to bring these to you throughout the year of how we're becoming more efficient and really getting more done in a more efficient manner by using these tools. If we go on to the next slide, you can see the map that I just referenced. Here are the 700 plus spans that we were able to mitigate and how we're tracking that vegetation management. You'll see a version of this kind of in the months ahead, so we can make sure the board understands where we're focused in a given month. But we've got a really great GIS system now in place to be able to look at this with a lot of specificity. And this, south of Lake Nighthorse here, you can really see a lot of progress south of Durango on mitigation and trying to reduce the risk as much as we possibly can as we head into the more intense part of the fire season. All right, let's go ahead and continue to slide number 5. A couple of things to mention on this slide. We were able to approve the meter collars and Tesla backup switches. So this is just continue to make progress to enable our members to use lots of different types of demand response and distributed energy resources. And this is another good example of how we're trying to make sure it's very easy for our members to do that. We also had a chance to select and finalize our contractor for the Sunnyside 2 project that we're now moving through the county review process. And so great to get that in place and excited to continue the work on upgrading and expanding our facilities at Sunnyside 2 with solar and a proposed battery storage system there. The picture is from a meeting that I was able to participate in with the Ignacio Chamber of Commerce. Really great turnout that morning, and always love to be a part of those gatherings around the service territory. If we go to the next slide on empowering the community, wanted to point out the picture is actually from the Southwest Colorado Rocks event that's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. We were able to make a very special contribution from the Roundup Foundation to MANA. And it turns out MANA in 1996 was our very first grantee from the Roundup Foundation. So really wonderful kind of a bookend there as we celebrate 30 years. I hope everyone is able to make a one-time special contribution. We're asking folks to consider $30 for 30 years as a way to really supercharge those efforts this year. But we continue to be able to support the very best nonprofits in the area with their great work. And this was a great example to celebrate that and to celebrate our very first grantee in 1996. So wonderful event. And I appreciate many of the board members who were able to be there that night. You can also see on this page a number of places where we do member engagement. Answered lots of questions. I had a great set of meetings, for example, the one in Bayfield where we got to talk about AI and data centers and nuclear energy and geothermal and all of the different power supply options that we're looking at and answer members' questions about our power portfolio. So really great set of interactions there, and we'll continue to do that month by month throughout 2026. But this gives you a chance to see what we were able to get done in February. If we go on to the next slide, also had a chance to participate in a utility CEO roundtable in Denver. Was very pleased to be a part of this panel. Got to kind of represent the small and medium-sized co-ops in the state, along with Mark Gabriel and Robert Kenny from Excel, and a great conversation there about state policy and how it affects our members. So pleased to be a part of that. And then also you can see a couple other important interactions that we had this month with FORCOR and with the National Lab of the Rockies on continued work with their analytical teams. The other thing to mention at the top of the page is around a kickoff meeting we had with a broadband installer. There's several now working in the county. And we are really trying to, again, do everything we can to streamline that work for the broadband providers and make it as easy as possible. And that meeting definitely helped us to achieve that goal. So with that is the end of the kind of main part of the dashboard. If we go on to the next slide, just a reminder of our vision statement. And then in the appendix, you can see some of the detail on some of our KPIs around reliability and our goals around beneficial electrification. But with that, I will pause and looking forward to any questions or conversation. Kohler.
Okay, sorry about that. I think Joe was first, Chris.
Go
okay.
ahead, Kohler. Go ahead, Kohler. That's all right.
Okay, I got a couple things. So on page 3, it has year to date, we have 465 polls, attachment orders, and then 224 in construction, but there has not been any completed attachments. I thought they were already attaching stuff. Is that, am I maybe mistaking that for something else?
Yeah, so this is just to make sure folks, again, this is in February. In the winter, that work is not happening at the same rate it happens kind of from here to November. So we spend a lot of time with the broadband providers doing planning and engineering work to make sure we're ready to go. So I just wanted to say that that's mostly what we concentrated on in February here. There were attachments that were happening from previously approved. But just to say from these requests that came in, those won't be done until later in the year. So that's really all that's indicating. There's a lag factor there.
Okay. Thank you. And then on page 6, it has notified members with a year or more of zero energy usage and offered instructions on how to disconnect and avoid paying the monthly base charge. And to me, isn't that monthly base charge actually important, because it still costs LPEA to have that equipment there if it's being used or not? So I'd like maybe a little explanation of what the thought is behind that.
Yeah, Kohler, and happy to invite comment from Dan or Monica on this one. The policy we have is if we have an account that is dormant for a year, we reach out and contact them and say, hey, are you still wanting electric service? And give them, just basically the notice that that if they want to do a disconnect, that they have that option. So, you're absolutely right. We've built the system to that location, that meter, and we need to collect that base charge if they're connected. But this is sort of a courtesy we provide for members who have been dormant for 12 months. But let me see if Dan or Monica want to add on to that.
And I guess I'd also add that gives us then the ability to go remove the facilities as well, because you're right, we don't want to maintain anything. That's what the base charge is there for. But there may be a mile of line that has to be energized to serve one service that we prefer not to have to energize for a service that's not being used. And so sometimes we put a customer on notice. It's like, hey, you either need to use the service or we're going to be removing this, because sometimes that base charge isn't enough to cover our expense to maintain a large section of line.
Okay, good. Thank you. And then one last thing on page 7, it has the graphic there, and looks like we maybe changed our name.
Yeah, they did.
Association.
Yeah, they did update that. That was a typo from COSA, and they fixed it about 2 days later. But this was the screen grab
I want
that
to
I
make
had.
sure I didn't miss something.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm done.
All right. Joe and then Rachel.
Comment and a couple of questions. First of all, on the 30/30 campaign, just assuming we've got people hanging on for the dashboard, there is a Venmo solution to make a contribution, very easy. So if you want to do that, again, if you're on Venmo, go ahead and do that. It's very, very simple to do. Chris, can you, again, because we might have people online, can you you use the GRIP acronym. Can you remind us what that stands for again?
Oh, sure. That's our grid innovation team. So it's in Dan's group, headed up by Steve Smith, and they handle our beneficial electrification work and rebate programs, other grid innovation initiatives that we have.
Okay. And on the reconductoring, can you explain that just a little bit more again for my benefit and for benefit for anyone else's on?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we were updating the lines themselves. So we had some very old conductor, the line, and replaced that with new, more efficient conductor in the Rafter J area. I don't know if Dan or Jerry want to add any more detail there.
Yeah, each time that we reconductor, we look at various factors. And like Chris mentioned, it's either age, or we are increasing capacity. So we'll put larger lines to account for future growth and increase loads. But every time that we do it, it hardens the system with new infrastructure. And in that area, it was much needed.
Great. Safety and reliability, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And then the last on that same page, number 3, you used a couple of terms: hotline tag and the non-reclose feature. Can you just give us a
Oh,
notes
absolutely.
version of those?
Yeah, and I should say we're planning a committee of the whole meeting in April to dive into this more with the board about how we're updating our system settings to increase safety as the wildfire season gets more severe. And of course, we all know the risk is very high because of a dry winter. But yeah, I'll actually turn it over to Dan to explain those settings for you.
Yeah, Joe, so there's a non-reclose setting and hotline tag. So non-reclose means it's on our normal curve. So a recloser would trip after a given amount of time, depending on the fault current. And a hotline tag is a mode that we can put it in, especially when we're working on the line, but we're also now using it for the fire settings, which puts things on what I call a hair trigger. And so just any kind of disturbance would make it trip. So there's different sequences we can progress through depending on the severity of the situation. Like just a standard red flag day, maybe we'll do one thing. And then as that severity increases, we'll go all the way up to a proactive shutoff. But these are some in-between steps that we can take with different modes to put those reclosers in. And the highlight we'd like to make is that we now have 100% of the electronic reclosers across our system now with these settings in it.
Yeah. And Joe, this is a really important point because many of our co-op peers are not in that situation. This has been a really tremendous multi-year effort to get that capability in place across our entire system, and that ability to change settings quickly across the entire service territory, we believe is really going to enhance our safety as we go into fire season. So it's an important point. And as I said, we're going to spend more time and more detail with the board at our next COW meeting.
And so when you say disturbances to the line, so this is what, wind or accidents, people hitting poles, snow on lines? Is it mainly the movement of lines and I don't know, fire, if there's a fire nearby, that sort of thing?
I'll take that. When you say disturbance, it's a fault. Typically a tree on a line hit the ground. So it's actually something and our normal priority is to keep people in power. So 80% of disturbances on our system are lightning. And it would see that and it would go and reclose, or it's a small branch brushing against a tree. It burns off a little bit and it recloses and people stay in power. On a red flag day, our priority is putting power out. And so it changes the mode of how our system operates. Now, what this creates is, of course, more outages across the system because it's hard to coordinate things, but we definitely want to prioritize putting the power out. So disturbance equals lying on the ground, a fault.
Right. Anyone out there thinks we're neglecting safety, again, we have these every month, and just thank you, staff, for pointing them out and doing the work.
Thanks, Joe. Over to Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Love the dashboard, good branding. Also really love the headers. They're very clear and just, I think, continue to tie us back to our large goal statement and then the framing within that. And I know that might seem simple, but it's something I think we've been asking for and improving on year to year. So thank you for that. Had 3 questions. One's actually a comment on the KPIs. Just another on the empowering community metric. Had a thought there, take it or leave it, but I know we're working to increase board participation in the member engagement process. And I'm curious if it would make sense to add a third line. So if the top line is staff-led member engagement, could we have a second line that's board-led member engagement with a target of 2 per month? Because that aligns with our option for board 101s. Plus, I know there's other things that people have been doing. So just a thought. And that way it's kind of up in front and we're held to account. So that's one thought there. On energizing tomorrow, I was curious if there were any updates or next steps that came out of the interconnection queue management meeting about relaxation of the red zones, or if that's just a kind of starting conversation.
Dan, you want to take that one?
Yeah, there's a pretty good write-up on I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but on page 5 of Energizing Tomorrow, the second paragraph talks about the work that we're facilitating towards that. And, and I want to be clear about the red zones. People can install solar in the red zones with batteries. And it's not a matter of upgrading facilities. It's a matter of the load has been served. So now we have to serve the load that's not during the day, which is what the batteries facilitate. So, and and one thing this exercise has definitely shown us is that we have relaxed and accommodated more solar interconnected to our system than any of these other utilities have by a long shot. None of them have reverse power flow to the substation due to rooftop solar. So we're at that point, and that's where we are with that, is that we need the load and batteries.
Yeah.
And that's what the rebates and that policy have shifted towards. So we're seeing a lot more batteries.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I got to give a presentation on Monday night, and that was one of the questions that came up, and it felt really good to be able to point to some really specific actions that we've done and that the household could do. So we've come a long way over the last couple of years, and thanks for that. And then on the page of empowering community, so rad to see that the Joint Utilities Committee, y'all are meeting up again to figure out how to work together best. That's really exciting. And second was just on the Region 9 meeting, did anything come from that? I know Region 9 is working on putting together their community economic development strategies right now. So it seems like a timely moment. But yeah, curious what, if anything, they're thinking for how this could tie together.
So Rachel, I would be happy to get you more specifics about that meeting. I don't have them, at hand next to me right now, but I'll definitely follow up with you and let you know what that agenda and the action items that came out of that.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions?
Yeah, I'm up next, I believe.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead, Kristen.
So I have a follow-up on Joe's line of questions about the fire mitigation that we do what we do to our lines so they shut down. And one of the things that Excel is doing, I have a bunch of family in the Front Range, so because they got sued, they are more likely to just shut down the system in the thought that, oh, it's going to be a windy day, we better shut down. So it seems to me they're almost doing it more as a punishment for getting sued than for that it actually doing anything for them. It's, sometimes they have trouble getting things back up afterwards and such. I think we have a very reasoned approach to this. Any comments about, what the heck Excel is doing? I know it's not us, but why are they so dramatic about their fire stuff? Is it just show?
Oh, wow. Yeah, spent 10 years of my life working with Excel in one way or another. I might save some of this for our COW meeting on fire mitigation. Okay. I would say that they are in a more defensive posture because of what happened with the Marshall Fire, and I think it has definitely changed the way they are operating their system, and you're seeing the results of that over the last several months, and additional PSPSs that they have implemented, power shutoffs that they have implemented on the Front Range. So, I think we're trying to learn from what is working well, what's not across the country. I would say there's some things that Excel is doing that I think, are something we can really learn from, and we'll be bringing that to the board for evaluation in April.
You're more generous to Excel than I am. I appreciate that. So my second question is follow up is on Rachel's comment about adding a director goal to the dashboard there. And if we want something done, Rachel, we just have to make a motion and vote it in or out, unless you wanted people to think about it this month and then perhaps make a motion next month on that. But that's the way if we want to actually get it done, if you want to suggest a motion, I would second it for you. And if not, we can just wait.
All right. I think I see. Any other questions? All right.
Yeah.
Rachel, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. If I'm allowed, I'll make that motion that we add an additional metric to the dashboard reflecting board engagement. So if we can add a line stating board member engagement events with a target of 2 per month, and this can just tie back to the tracking sheet we already have in place. So not that much of
Second.
All right.
I second that emotion.
Yeah. I would point out that we're in the dashboard portion of the meeting, and I'm not sure we want to do it in this portion of the meeting. We might want to wait, but I'll ask Graham if that's correct.
I mean, I think if it's a topic we're currently discussing, I don't think if there's a motion on the floor, that's the ability of the board to take a governance action whenever it is topical.
Sounds good. Madam President, back to you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Further discussion about this particular motion, and we'll make sure to get back to people's hand raised for other reasons. But Kohler, do you have a comment about this motion?
No, it's another question after we're done with this.
Okay. Tim, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is we're setting here. I mean, to have a KPI may be a good thing, maybe not. I don't know. And it's not clear what that KPI is from this motion. I heard Rachel say 2 a month. When I heard that, I was a little surprised. I didn't know that we had set that metric, and I'm not sure that we all are in agreement on that. And finally, this was not an agenda item. So I would suggest we bring it back to the next board meeting and have a chat about it, because it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's actually setting a standard for board members to do things that I'm not necessarily sure we're all in agreement with, and have had very little chance to discuss at least a metric of this kind. So I would say, could we do this another time? It's also not on the agenda. So that's my comment. Thanks.
Are you moving to table
Okay.
it?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to table this to next month. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So any further discussion on the motion to table?
Oh, I don't think that's debatable.
I think
Oh,
you just
okay.
proceed
Okay.
immediately to vote on table motion.
All right, all in favor of
I'm
tabling?
sorry to interrupt. Can we stop sharing screen so we can count votes? Thank you.
So all in favor of the motion to table Rachel's motion till next month, signal by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay, did you count that, Janelle?
Yep, we're getting it. Thank you.
Okay, all opposed, please raise your hand or say nay.
See Dusty opposed. I think he's the only one.
Okay, the motion to table has been approved 11-1. And then I would like to, or actually, I'm not sure if that's correct, but it has been approved to table it to next month. And then we will go back to Kohler, who was in line for a question on the dashboard. And I will hand the meeting back to Chris.
So the question I have is, we had a big windstorm up at the Vicedo area pretty recently. And I read, and I haven't confirmed it, but LPA did turn off the power. So my question is how do we notify our members if we're going to shut the power off? Because I would think some of them maybe running oxygen or something. It's a pretty critical thing. And I haven't experienced it, so I don't know what kind of notification is out there.
Yeah.
Could you explain what we do?
Yeah,
Please?
absolutely. I'll kind of start this off and then see if Jerry or Dan want to add some more detail. You're absolutely right. The windstorm that happened at Vallecito knocked down some of our lines, and we responded immediately to a request from the fire chief to de-energize that section of the system. It was several hundred meters that were shut off in response to those downed power lines. And we then immediately, at the same time, we're sending notice to all of those members. Also posted it on our public-facing websites and Facebook, et cetera. So we've got kind of multiple channels. This is a great reminder that we need people to share the ability to reach them by text. That is the most efficient way to do this. Many of our members have opted into that. Many have not. But whatever communication method the member has selected, we use that to notify them in these situations. But let me see if Jerry or Dan wants to add any more information about the Vallecito situation.
Yeah, Kohler, this would be completely different than a preemptive PSPS. This would be more along the lines of an emergency power shutoff at the request of emergency services. We do it, take for example, a car hit pole. That if a line is laying across the car or the pole is in a precarious situation, we will get a request from the emergency services to de-energize the line. At that point, our dispatch will just open that circuit. They will contact the management and they will just open the circuit. Once our crews get out there and make the situation safe, then we can re-energize it. But in those situations, there is no pre-notice to our membership. But it will be different for preemptive shutoffs.
Kohler, thank you, Jerry. Kohler will also note that, yes, we'll always strive to, if we have a planned outage, to inform customers ahead of time. As Jerry mentioned, this was a request from the fire chief. People on oxygen, this instance was no different than a normal outage. I mean, had a tree fallen through a line and there had an outage, they'd be out of power. So people have to have that awareness and preparedness about them about all times. But definitely, if it's planned, we'll send the notice.
Yeah, and as a matter of policy, our electric service regulations have always said that the association reserves the right to discontinue electric service without notice in the event of a condition deemed hazardous by the association.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I see Tim's hand next.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Good dashboard presentation as usual. Thank you. Couple of quick questions. One, the 30 by 30, which sounds like a really good thing. I have not really seen anything that tells me how to make that donation. Joe said something about Venmo or whatever, but I assume that will be in the March LPA newsletter or something.
Yeah.
All right, and because we're in the board meeting, it would be great to be able to tell people right now how they could go do that, and I'm not quite sure, but I'd like to make a contribution. One other thing is you met with Region 9 Economic Development District. Did you discuss anything around data centers or anything with them at that meeting?
Tim, that was not on the agenda. We were really my memory of it, and as I promised to Rachel, I'll get more detail for the board. But a lot of focus on childcare and affordable housing.
All right. Just as a FYI, I mean, first I was at your Bayfield Coffee with Chris, where you did go over some of that. I thought it was really well presented, and I would love for more members or others who might be impacted by that to hear it, because it was really helpful and educational. And in speaking with Laura at Region 9, who they coordinate the Southwest Broadband group. And there were a lot of questions from that group about data centers, and I pointed to your talk and would love for you to connect with them and have that chat because I think it could be really helpful. They're going to be, whatever a data center, if it comes here, is going to need broadband, and those folks have the best access to the best information on, what's possible and what's not in that regard. So, all right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Kirsten, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you, sir. So along the lines of the notification of electrical shutdowns, I know that one of the things that's brewing up at the legislature is about the Robin alerts and such. I don't know the current status. I think that got permission to be one of the late bills. So one of the things that the state is looking at is enforcing what has to happen before that happens. And then the problem with that is that can get in the way of safety. So it's one of those tough issues that people, yes, are absolutely notified, and people who are on oxygen need to have their own secondary source. But it becomes tough when the state gets involved and starts mandating, oh, and you have to do this or you can't do that. So it's an issue at the state. I just wanted people to know that too. Thank you.
Yeah, and just quickly on that, there has not been any legislation introduced on that area. It's not clear the potential sponsors have permission for a late bill, so we're watching it closely. I'm with you. There's some important trade-offs there that will be discussed if that moves forward this session. My expectation at this point is that it is not going to be introduced. But, yeah, good flag. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up this section of the meeting? All right. Seeing none, President Pitcher, back to you. Oh, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I would actually hand it back to you
Yeah.
for the regional market update.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to have this as kind of I think a standing item at this point because in a few days we will be part of the regional market. We continue our kind of final checks with SPP. As was mentioned in the agenda amendment discussion, we did need to get a letter of credit in place with SPP. We were able to do that in a very timely way by using our executive committee structure, and the board will have a chance to review that in just a second. But the good news is, it's all systems go, all green across the board. We're ready to enter the market on April 1st, and that line of credit was kind of one of the last things that we needed to double check. There will be some work in April on kind of switch over of some of the meters and data flows, that type of thing. But I think we're in a really solid position and don't see anything that would delay us or cause an issue as we head into April 1st. So lots more information to come on this, but we're ready to start on here in just a week's time.
Talk about burying the headline.
Yeah, this is excellent work. There are so many moving pieces, and I'm so grateful for the incredible staff we have that has gotten to this moment 7 days out with all green lights. So thank you.
Yeah, it represents thousands of person hours.
Yes.
And so, yeah, thanks, John. Don't want to bury the headline. Yeah, this is a big darn deal, and we are really excited to enter this new chapter of our history. And I think if you would have asked me my first day on this job, what's March of 2026 going to look like? I was anxious. I was like, oh, are we going to have lots of last minute things to do? And I'm pleased to report we do not. The major pieces are in place, and we're ready to go on April 1st.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, I see Joe has his hand up.
Yeah, just a question about Mercuria and SPP. Do they communicate? What is their kind of relationship as, in the bridge period?
Yeah, Joe, very strong communication there. Yeah, as a major market participant, they have actively participated with SPP for years and have in the original footprint of SPP. So they, yeah, in strong communication, know each other well. Yeah, don't see any issues popping up there, but let me see if Dan has anything he wants to add.
Yeah, I mean, they're communicating and will be communicating daily, multiple times a day. Each day they have to provide a day ahead forecast to SPP on what our load is going to be, what they're going to be providing, and then there's imbalances on if there's any differences. So yeah, it's part of an integrated marketplace. They are in the middle of it and talking multiple times a day.
All right, Tim.
Yeah, I think bearing the headline, that was perhaps appropriate. And I think for a lot of members, there may be a perception that this is some new marketplace that we're joining at as it at the onset, and to some degree, I think that is correct. But it's also like you just said, it's a new footprint of an existing marketplace that's been in place for a long period of time. So it's a question of integrating new territory, not creating a new market. And I think trying to find a way to not to reassure members that there is these are standard processes and so forth, that we're not all joining something brand new at the same time with that consequent risk of like potential failure or something. So
Yeah.
maybe you could speak a little bit about that too, a little bit.
Yeah, happy to. I could definitely be glad to emphasize those points. I mean, SPP's history goes back to World War II. It was created in Arkansas to help to coordinate between power plants and power users as the war effort ramped up and production from armament factories in Arkansas ramped up. It became necessary for them to coordinate the grid for the first time in a major way. And as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And it was one of the very first efforts in the United States with that in mind. So this has a long, long history going back to 1942, 43. And as you say, this is an expansion of the footprint of an existing organization, has decades and decades of history and refinement and improvement. And we're able to take advantage of that now in the Western Interconnect. And, we're doing this with all of our neighbors in every direction from us. And the vast majority of the landmass of Colorado now enters this market. Excel has decided to join Markets Plus, which is also an offering from SPP. That is what they're going to be doing for the next couple of years. And so, yeah, a lot of coordination has already happened, and we're seeing this as a smooth transition as we enter on April 1st. Rachel.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been after the blurring the lines read and all the attempts to understand SPP, just from an everyday person standpoint, which includes myself. I was trying to think of what are parallel systems that people would understand that do similar things, right? That just build an efficiency and it's not an actual new market, et cetera, et cetera. But more so what I was going to ask is, what does this do on the daily to change anything, if anything, in the operations of LPA? Just high level.
Yeah, not a huge amount of change. I mean, I think the way our data flows, the way we use our transmission credits, right? There's some new things we have to keep track of, and make sure we've got that information flowing to the right folks at SPP, and make sure we're keeping track of it and can audit that information and maybe sure we max out our transmission credit, use that up for the benefit of our members, make sure our metering arrangements are covering all the bases that are needed inside of this market construct. So that's really, a lot of the prep work that's gone into this over the last 18 months in particular, is to make sure we're in that position. So, but not a lot of daily change. I think all of us, we heard from the board loud and clear, crush the transition. And to me, that meant a seamless, smooth move into this new chapter. And we want this to be as boring as possible for all of our members. They will not see a thing. Nothing is going to change for our members in that sense. But those are some of the things behind, the operation side that we do have in place and that we needed to have in place for this change. But again, let me turn to Dan and see if he has any more detail he wants to share.
I'd say operationally, you're absolutely right. We're going to continue to move. We have brought in some lines from Tri-State. We need to address those. So we need to plan for that, bring in some more equipment. But transactionally, there'll be a lot of stuff going on. There'll be a lot more transactions that we have to watch and keep track of on a daily basis. So that'll be a learning lesson as we go through that. But I think we're prepped and ready to go.
All right, Kirsten.
Yeah, as a precursor to my Tri-State report later, so Tri-State has reported that they've been testing this like crazy with SPP. So Mercury is definitely a major market participant, and they have a level of risk in this. Tri-State as being both a load taker and a generator are going to be playing in both markets. The other thing that's going to be happening new is the interconnects are going to come in and being able to get from east to west and west to east. So there are some things at the higher level. I think we are all totally set at our lower level, but there's going to be some things that are going on at the higher level that those folks are going to be dealing with. Mercury is probably going to be paying extra attention and have all eyes on that first week or maybe even more. Tri-State certainly is too. And they're expecting, they know that there's a couple manual overrides right now. They've identified a lot of stuff in testing. So this has been beaten up like crazy, which is exactly where we want to be. And nobody's going in with everything's going to be just wonderful. At that level. I think at our level, we're down enough in the weeds that we're going to be able to get our power. We're going to be dealing with it and just fine. And it'll be just interesting to see how it works. I think it's going to work great, but it's not going to be without hiccups. And I just want to keep kind of preaching that one, that at the high level, there's going to be some hiccups, and it'll be interesting to see how it all works out.
Joe.
Dan, a question for you. You mentioned that there will be a lot of transactions that we'll be having to pay, or you'll have to be paying attention to. Is that just monitoring now until 2028, or is this actually operationally? Because I guess my understanding was Mercuria would be handling most of that detail kind of stuff. So just want to get clear on that.
Good question, Joe. I mean, it's along the lines of what Kirsten was just saying, is that there is a lot of, instead of a single wholesale bill from Tri-State, we now have, a transmission bill from SPP that we have to put eyes on every month just to make sure, everything's billing as we expect it to, especially these first few weeks and months. Now we have PPAs and bills coming in from, we'll have them coming in from Tri-State, Aceto, Harvest, a variety of different bills coming in that we just have to watch. And, all eyes on as we go into this new system just to make sure everything's billing as expected.
Okay, great. Gives me a little more perspective. And then, Chris, a question for you. You said that Xcel is joining Markets Plus, and I know you've got concern about SPP and Xcel. Is this a step in the right direction that they're joining Markets Plus, or has this been known for a while?
Yeah, I mean they've put this in front of the PUC about a year and a half ago, and the PUC reviewed it and eventually approved their entry into Markets Plus. I see it as at best a baby step. It does not solve the pancaking problem, which is, to give a practical example, if we were to try to buy wind from a wind farm that was connected to the Xcel system, we would have to pay for transmission twice. That is what we're trying to avoid with the RTO, and Xcel's decision does not address that fundamental problem, nor does it comply with state law. So they have a deadline to get there by the end of the decade, and continue to advocate for that state policy that's already been adopted. I think these are addressable issues, and expect that the PUC will enforce state law. So it's not going to be solved right away, but we're going to get there. I feel pretty confident about that, and all of our co-op peers and the munis are in a very similar position, and so lots of folks that are working to make that happen.
Great, thank you.
Yep. So, Kirsten, do you have another question?
Yeah, Joe. Along with wildfire, Excel, and if they're trying to do a runaround on the move to a full market, is definitely one of the higher priorities they're keeping an eye on. And Chris has been very helpful with that. Nothing, it looks like it's going to come up this year, but we're kind of expecting it. And again, Chris speaks better about, is nicer to Excel than I am. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. So that's what I worry about that.
So yeah, just a couple final comments to wrap up. We're not expecting any hiccups next week. There are certainly lots of things we'll be double checking and making sure the data again is flowing correctly, and we're keeping track of our payments, in a new way to where we've been. But that was all part of the plan, and so yeah, we're just letting folks know that we're in a great position to make this switch over to the new market and to our new power supply arrangements. And just a big thank you to the board for all of your hard work, and to the staff for your incredible work over these last 24 months. And looking forward to celebrating this new chapter with everyone. And one last announcement, did confirm that we've got the 30 for 30 available on our homepage. So any board member that would like to participate, we'd love to have your participation in that campaign, or tell your neighbors and friends. But it's super easy to find right on our landing page. And we'll continue to get that word out through things like our next newsletter. Rachel.
Yeah, I'm just curious if we're going to have, since we want to keep this low level and it's supposed to be really boring, like a really boring party to celebrate where we just, wear pocket protectors and ties and sit around the water cooler and have no interesting conversation.
Yeah. Everybody bring your slide rules. All
Okay,
right.
well,
back to you. All finished. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Chris. So we are a little ahead schedule. I am committed to ending this board meeting at 2:00, so I recommend we barrel ahead. I believe that our in-house counsel can give the public attorney update of FERC and related actions. Is that correct, Graham?
That is correct.
Okay, let's just keep moving.
All right. For our La Plata County litigation, I do not have any public update on that. Nothing has changed since my update last month. For FERC, we have received all of the final approvals for any of our FERC-related withdrawal documents for Tri-State. Those have all come in, and everything is officially official. All the regulatory I dottings and T crossings have been accomplished, so we're done there. And in terms of burying the headline, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals issued its decision yesterday affirming the contract termination payment rate that's filed with FERC. We are unanimously determined that the lost revenues approach was inappropriate, and that the balance sheet approach was appropriate, and that our calculation was correct. There was a partial dissent to a very small piece of the transmission allocation, but other than that, 10th Circuit was very adamant and unanimous that FERC came up with the correct, fair, just, and reasonable calculation for contract termination payments in accordance with what we have been doing our math and homework on since at least when the FERC administrative law judge issued their initial decision for over 4 years ago.
Just in time law. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh no, this is as honestly is merely coincidence that this comes out so close to our departure. It was obviously United departed under this structure 2 years ago. It really is just affirming something that we have been concretely familiar with since at least December 2023, when the entirety of FERC issued its final order, which was what was adopted without any adjustments by the 10th Circuit at all. So some of you might recall that the full FERC commission made some minor adjustments to the administrative law judge's original CTP order. So there were some slight adjustments that we recalculated in 2020 in December 2023 and analyzed very thoroughly for the board to have all the facts necessary to make its departure decision in March of 2024. And John, yeah. Yeah, John.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe just that ruling was an important milestone in sort of the final run out of Tri-State's litigation efforts. Maybe it might be useful to people listening at home who haven't been necessarily tied to the play-by-play to just do 30 seconds or 45 seconds from the FERC ruling, the original FERC ruling. What happened? What did they sue? Why did they sue? What were they trying to get? Why this was an important milestone? Just give everybody a little more context on why this was an important milestone.
Yeah. So Tri-State adopted some non-utility members in 2019 in order to become regulated by FERC, and therefore put this question to FERC as an independent arbitrator, if you will, and set it as a rate that's universally applies to all of its members and customers. And so in order to do that, they presented a rate that was based on lost revenue. Now, as all of us as co-op members know, that any excess revenue collected by a co-op is allocated back to its own members in terms of patronage capital. So the co-op itself doesn't really have an economic interest in excess revenue. Yet that was always been Tri-State's argument. United Power came up with as sort of the primary litigant who, be honest, bore a lot of the primary litigation expenses with this, had an alternative of a balance sheet approach, basically that generation cooperatives are largely communal debt instruments of their distribution members, and that as long as you pay your debt off, you're not hurting any of the remaining members. So both of those were presented to Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which analyzed those and through their own staff attorneys came up with and staff experts came up with a modified balance sheet approach, which is similar to, but not quite the same as United's, and presented that to an administrative law judge who agreed that it was a fair, just, and reasonable way to allocate the costs without an economic windfall, either for Tri-State or for departing members. And then that administrative law judge ruling, Tri-State, having not had their balance sheet approach method adopted by the administrative law judge, then took that to the entire FERC commission, the politically appointed commission. And in December of 2023, that politically appointed commission approved the administrative law judge's balance sheet approach with some minor modifications. As a matter of administrative law, it is appealable to a federal appellate court rather than a federal district court. We initially suggested the federal district, the Circuit Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit, which largely handles federally administrative bodies. Tri-State wanted that to be in the 10th Circuit. In the end, we didn't contest that removal to the 10th Circuit. The 10th Circuit analyzed that and ultimately concluded that everything that FERC had done was correct. And not only did the initial contract termination payment ruling, but the timing of some subsequent follow-up rulings by FERC, particularly related to the transmission credit calculations, of which I think everybody is aware that our transmission credit calculation has moved up significantly. The portion of our exit payment that we will receive in the future as a credit against our transmission bill has moved up significantly to it's somewhere, approaching almost 50% of the cash payment. We will be, that was all ratified as well. So it's not, ended up being really about 4 issues that were resolved, not just the initial contract termination payment calculation, but some subsidiary issues around the transmission credit, and all of those were all ratified.
Graham, thank you for tying up 8 years of litigation of federal utilities into a fairly brief statement. If I can just go a little more simplistic and a little more brief, this is a win for our members. This is the number we were planning for. This is the number we worked towards when the FERC handed it down for our contract termination payment. Tri-State sued it, said was suing the methodology, said it should be a different number. They appealed it. The appellate court said, nope, you're not standing on anything. So this, for our members, the number we've been planning for and working with, that's the number that the appellate court confirmed. So that's the win. Okay, do we have any other questions in public session for Graham? All right, seeing none, it is 10:32. We are going to move into executive session. I propose that we take our 10-minute break and meet in executive session at 11:32. Oh, excuse me. I would like to accept a motion to move into executive session. And if someone would like to state what items we'll be discussing.
I'll go ahead to executive session. Items will be attorney update on FERC and related actions, power supply progress confidential, transmission asset discussion, and storage strategy.
I'll move to go into executive session for those 4 items.
Thank you, Ted. And Rachel, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, so we'll see you on the other side at 10:42. Okay, looks like we've got more than a quorum as people continue to trickle in. It's 12:51 and we are coming out of executive session. We have no action that is coming out of executive session, but Dusty is going to give a report of what took place and for how long.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, so our first topic was a FERC attorney update. We spent 36 minutes. Most information related to this topic was publicly stated in the public session. There was some confidential information that was added. It was attorney-client privilege and lawsuit strategy related. Several board members had some comments and questions that were addressed regarding these confidential topics, including an overview and justification of the legal fees associated, ensuring that board fiduciary responsibilities were met. For item B, our power supply progress, 38 minutes were spent. No additional information was needed to be reviewed following the cow discussion that we'd had on the previous Monday. However, some board member discussion and communication strategies were had regarding member buy-in and future dialogue. As these communication strategies related to future communication of information that is currently covered by confidentiality agreements. This discussion needed to occur in executive session. For item C, the transmission asset discussion, it was only 4 minutes. Chris presented options that may come up for further discussion in April. We had some forward-looking strategy around future transmission options, which were touched on, and specific confidentiality agreements prevent public discussion of this information. For item D, our storage strategy, we spent 12 minutes. Chris updated us on the next steps for the storage strategy, and we had some discussion about what aspects were required to be in executive session, which is the strategy itself and the specifics of current contract details. Our confidential, strategic, and legal discussions were held about what is needed to engage with regulatory agencies.
All right, Dusty, thank you for that report to our members. I think that sheds a little bit of light on what we've been up to for the last hour and a half. And with that, let's just keep moving down our agenda. Board action agenda. Item A, Finance and Audit Committee update. I will hand the gavel over to our treasurer, Tim Wheeler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Finance and Audit Committee met on March 12th. via Zoom, and I put in the board packet the written report that you can refer to if you have any questions. Maybe prior to taking any questions, I'll note that we did make 2 recommendations to the board. Those recommendations came out of discussions in executive session. And the first one, which is a recommendation that I'll read at this point, is that the FAC voted unanimously to recommend that the board approve the energy risk management policy. There were a few mostly minor typographical redline changes that were pending, but we felt that the major aspects of this policy were have been discussed and sufficiently, and that the FAC could make the recommendation. It recognizes that this policy is a living document subject to at least a minimum yearly review and update as LPA utilizes and learns from its participation in the SPP, which is a driver for this energy risk management policy. So that's a recommendation coming out of committee. It does not need a second. And so this would be a time to take any questions on this particular motion.
And I believe it's actually presented in the board book as Resolution 2026-06, Adoption of Energy Risk Management Policy.
Yes, thank you, Graham. I don't think we had that at the FAC, but I can't recall. So Kohler, you're up first.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on it. We discussed it at the FAC, and that is that this actually gives us about a year to work with this to perfect it for when it actually takes place for us. Because right now Mercuria is dealing with this, and we went through it quite a few times. It might not be perfect, but at least we got a chance to really work on it and get it right by the time we need it. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just note that it's actually longer than that. It's like 2 years before.
You're right.
So yeah, we describe this as we're running on training wheels before we try to strike the balance on our own in a couple of years. Thank you, Kohler. Rachel?
Yeah, thanks for everybody's hard work on this. It was interesting to try to digest and also interesting to read the comments. One that I found curious or would love kind of clarification on, David Lucian, I think, put a comment asking around the power manager and that they would report to the board, and they're an external party, right? That's Mercuria. And is that so just to clarify, they will be part of the risk management group, and then they will be our direct report for compliance?
Rachel, are you asking if Mercuria will be on the committee and if they will be reporting to the board?
Yeah, I was trying to understand when it lays out the committee makeup and then everyone's responsibilities.
Oh, so yeah, that they would not. That would be staff responsibility. As was mentioned, Mercuria's contract with us until the end of 2027 includes they're basically balancing our needs. We give them a day ahead forecast and they take care of that as part of their contract. So the need for this policy really doesn't start to become real until January 1st of 2028, when we may take on that responsibility as staff. We may want to continue an energy management contract. In either case, we'll be communicating to the board directly, and this committee of staff members, myself and the other staff indicated in the policy, will be bringing that back to the board.
Does that answer your question, Rachel? Okay. Joe?
Yeah, looking ahead here, I know we've moved kind of the basic explanation, the financial explanation, kind of off of the bottom of the dashboard down to the appendix. I guess what I'm wondering is, now that, starting next month, is all the financial stuff, is that going to look a lot different? Are there going to be other things that we're going to have to be paying attention to that we're not really, looking at now because of our connection with Tri-State? Just I'd like to know what to look for if there's changes that I need to pay attention to.
So, Joe, the short answer is no. You're going to continue to see cost of power, those types of measurements that we've been communicating to the board all along. That will not change. Really, what we're describing here is the potential in 28 and beyond, where we may want to do balancing transactions in the SPP market. Those are going to be, a handful of megawatt hours at a time. Megawatt hour, depending on the time of day, trades for, $60, $70 at depending on peak or non-peak. So, relatively small sizes of these transactions, what you're going to see reported out through the FAQ and through the board documents about cost of power and revenue, all those things will stay the same. This is just the method at which will be the guidance from the board on how to control the risk around those types of transactions. So no big changes. This is really focused on some balancing transactions that we may take on in 28 and beyond.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, Judd, just to clarify, I thought I heard a question about the overall financials reporting versus reporting specifically to the energy risk management.
Right. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, that too.
So it's the overall versus the?
Well, both. So if there's more to add to what Chris said, please do.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, just to say the Energy Risk Management Committee will be reporting back to the FAQ and to the board on a regular basis. So that will be new because we're standing up this new function to be ready for those transactions. But the board financial information that already includes things like cost of power, revenue, et cetera, we're not anticipating any changes on that.
And the transactions associated with the need for an energy risk management policy, those transactions are a part of cost of power. So that's why it doesn't change. It's germane to that. We used to get a bill from, we will for one more week get a bill from Tri-State that rolls all that up into one thing, and we will do the same for going forward. Okay, is there any other questions regarding this motion, which is on the floor? So let's call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the energy risk management policy, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? So it looks like that's unanimous. Maybe one more note is that this policy is generally confidential because it takes market. It is information which, if disclosed in a market situation, could be disadvantageous to the members and LPEA. Is that correct? Is that a good explanation?
That is a great explanation. Thank you for adding that, Tim.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the next item that came out of the FAQ meeting is a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve Resolution 2026-03, which is a power purchase agreement between LPEA and Harvest Four Corners LLC, LPEA, LLC. That PPA is would be between LPEA and the owner that I just mentioned, an operator of a 5.8 megawatt steam turbine waste heat recovery cogeneration facility that previously was operated under a contract with Tri-State we will now have that direct connection. So that's a motion out of committee, doesn't need a second, so we can go right to any discussion or questions that anyone has. Doesn't look like any. This is advantageous for the members and continues a source of energy that we have had, but at a price that doesn't include the markup that Tri-State had been charging us previously. So, Rachel, you have a question?
Just a comment. I know we're trying to get out of here, but I'm feeling very nostalgic. My first meeting with LPA 9 years ago, we had to make this very same decision as to whether or not to renew the contract. So it feels good that it's kind of come full circle, buttoning it up.
Well, thanks for doing that when you were such a young girl back then.
And Tim, I may want to add too that this is 100% renewable recycled energy.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, very good point. Anything else? Anyone else? All right, so all in favor of executing this PPA, please raise your hand, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye, aye. Any opposition? Anyone opposed? Or any abstention? So that's also unanimous. And now, if there are questions about the FAQ report, any other questions, feel free to speak up at this point. All right, that's it for the FAQ. On to you, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Thank you for getting us through those two important items of business. Next, we have the Roundup Foundation Director reappointment. There is a memo in your packet. I would open the floor up for a motion.
So moved.
And if I might say, okay, that's good from Joe. I was going to say that this should be a District 3 director that makes this motion. So, oh, so it's Kohler. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got your voice confused with Joe's voice.
Can I have a District 3 rep make that?
I move that we accept the appointee.
And a second by Joe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Great. Well, welcome Melanie McKinney Gonzalez to the LPA Roundup Foundation Board. We appreciate your service and the important work you do here in our service territory. Next item of business, I will pass over to Graham. This is regarding our upcoming election.
Thank you very much, Nicole. As you will recall from last month, we had a proposed bylaw amendment that came out of the Committee on Policies, and some directors indicated that it was sort of a bit confusing as it was drafted. And so we broke it out into 3 different subsections, one for the record date for mail and electronic ballot voting, one for a record date for in-person voting, and then record dates for special meetings. And so I believe at least Kohler had some additional grammatical adjustments that he would probably like to propose, but you can see the resolution as identified resolution 2026-04, and this would be something that also when we would put on the ballot, we would indicate that the board recommends the adoption of this. And as I've stated before, that all this is really doing is codifying what we need to do anyway, is just hopefully make it a little more straightforward so that the members understand that you can't vote as a member until you are accepted as a member by the board. So that has to, for the people that come between the ballot deadline or the ballot publication deadline and the annual meeting, that really leaves them only the in-person voting at the annual meeting as an option.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion and then I'll have, if it's seconded, I'll have a comment.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Go ahead, Kohler.
Okay, so I did send out a thing with some thoughts on it, and I need to know what our intent is. But when I look at the A part, it says the record date for determining the members who are entitled to notice of an annual meeting of the members and to vote by mail or electronic at the meeting shall be the date that the mail ballots are mailed. So if we're trying to get everybody we can to vote or be noticed of the meeting, people between that last board meeting where we approved members and then this date would not be included. And so I think that if we, one of two things is that we state that so there's no question that those people wouldn't be included, or the other consideration would be like in B, or that the board of directors has approved applications for new membership right before that date, as far as that record date on that one. And it's the same with C, that we have a gap between the last board meeting where we approved members and then the record date. And that space there could vary. So those members in between that would not, or they wouldn't be members. Any new accounts between that would not be members, so they couldn't do it. So again, you know, if it's our intent to get everybody to vote, then put in that same clause as far as the board of directors has approved applications. I also made a thing in there to take off of directors in B, but then when I look back at the bylaws, it is throughout the bylaws called the board of directors. It wasn't shorted to just board. So I'll take that part back. And then also in A, in the third sentence, I had circled at, because that could actually read a couple different ways. And one of the ways is you could vote by mail or electronic at the meeting. So I suggested the word for, and Tim, you know, answered that. And I think Tim is right on that for is the wrong word. So another suggestion, if we keep this verbiage here, is possibly put a comma. Let me see if I can get where that would be. Let's see, the entailed to the annual meeting of the members. So on the second sentence after members, a comma between members and then another comma right after electronic, so that we separate and to vote by mail, ballot, or electronic, so that it doesn't get thought of as or mistakenly made that you could electronically vote at the meeting. So those are the thoughts I had, and I don't know what the feedback is from Graham.
I would say, actually, reading that, I might say we should probably strike at such meeting from A anyway. And so it would say, and I would actually say, I think we need to put electronic ballot, right? I think is the term we use throughout the bylaws. I'll go and double check that real quick while the rest of this discussion goes on. But so it would say the record date for determining the members who are entitled to notice of an annual meeting of the members and to vote by mail, ballot, or electronic ballot shall be the date that the mail ballots are mailed according to policy.
That would work. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think that is actually the more accurate way to state it. So I think you're right. I would propose that edit, or incorporate that edit into your proposed edits. And then let's see. I'm trying to think of other changes that you wanted to address.
So I had two options, but I think the best one, and I think for our intent, is to add to both A and B the same clause, or I mean A and C is to add the same clause as what's in B, that the board of directors has approved applications, so that right up to that record date we could approve memberships.
Yes.
And that way everybody up to that would be able to vote or participate.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And okay. Yes, and then, right, and I think one of your other questions too, and maybe this is more of a question that I can just address rather than a language change, is so our bylaws require both like individual mailing notice to people whose memberships have been accepted, and then also posting notice, posting at our headquarters and posting in newspapers of general circulation. So if you were going to be the member who joins after the mail ballot date, but before the in-person date, you would need to rely on the public posting of the notice rather than receiving a mailed notice. Does that make sense? And I think this captures that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So that's sort of why there's no reference to notice in B. It's just voting. But there is reference to notice in A and C, I guess. And perhaps another, if I sort of hate to kind of wordsmith at the last minute, but perhaps an alternative is instead of having A, B, and C, is to just say the record date for determining members who are entitled to notice of annual and special meetings in the initial paragraph, right? And then make A and B apply to both regular and special meetings and get rid of C. Not have special meetings have their own.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Right.
Again, maybe I lost you a little bit on that A as far as are entitled to notice, and to vote. And again, they can't vote unless they are a member.
Yes.
So without that clause, they wouldn't be a member if they hadn't started an account from the board meeting up until that record date.
Yeah. So yes, so the record date for determining members who are entitled to notice of an annual, and I would probably just change that to notice of a meeting of the members, and to vote by mail ballot or electronic ballot shall be the date the mail ballots are mailed according to policy. And then B, the record date for determining the members who are entitled to vote in person at the annual meeting shall be on the date of the annual meeting of the members at such time as the board of directors has approved the applications for new membership at a regular or special meeting at a regular. So
that
you would
still leaves that gap in A that if we had a board meeting and we approved members, and then after that board meeting, before the ballots were sent out, mailed, any account that started after that would not be a member and would not be able to vote. So that's why I wanted that clause in A as well as B.
Yep. So you would like to add so the record date for returning members, and it says
I believe that's the board's intent, is to have as many people vote as possible.
Yes. No, I totally agree, right? And so you're right. What's going to happen? I'm gonna have to just hang on one second so we can deal with our real world election right now. I'm gonna pull up our election timeline. So ballots will be mailed on April 20th, and our next meeting is April 15th. So anybody that joined between April 15th and April 20th wouldn't be, anybody who started taking electricity between April 15th and April 20th would not be accepted as a member by the board of directors and therefore would not receive a ballot. And you would like that to be clear to the members.
If that's the intent of the board, yes, I think so. So I'll make that as an amendment, and then we'll see if it's the intent of the board.
But Graham,
yeah,
we usually have a board meeting on the day of the annual meeting.
Yes.
And we approve members who can then vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what you just stated captures that.
And so that is why I had it phrased the way it currently is, right? So it says A is the record date for so A says the record date for determining the members who are entitled to notice and to vote by mail and ballot and electronic ballot is the date that those ballots are mailed, right? Which doesn't always correspond with a board meeting date, right? But B says the record date for determining the members who are entitled to vote in person at the annual meeting shall be on the date of the annual meeting as soon as the board. So if somebody became a member on April 16th, the day after the board's most recent acceptance of memberships, the next time they would be able to be accepted as a member is May 20th, the annual meeting, when we always, even if it's only just a special meeting, we always hold a special meeting right before the board meeting to accept the new members so they are officially members and can then vote in person. And so that's why I had that included in B, but not A, because the date that the mail ballots go out isn't always correlated to a board meeting, if that makes sense.
And that's how I understood it. And I'm not quite sure what I did send you an email on this, Kohler, but trying to figure
Yeah,
it out.
I looked at it and I agree with you. I think there's a gap there that in A. B is just fine, and we're
But
doing
in
what
A, it's
C.
only talking about mail or electronic voting. That's all it is referring to.
That's right.
So
that's right.
But that doesn't mean they're disenfranchised from voting. That could occur in person, or if the board meeting occurred after that and they're approved, right? They could still put a ballot into a box, a drop-off box.
So then why not make the record date the board meeting instead of the day the ballots are mailed?
Because our board meeting cadence doesn't always line up with our ballot mailing obligations under the policy, right? So I mean, it's
right.
The way to do that would then be to say our meeting, our regular meeting for the month before the annual meeting needs to be 30 days before the annual meeting, because that's when our policy says the ballots need to go out. And so we would have to when we build our schedule, we would need to make sure that occurred, if it were. And that's something we can put on our radar going forward, even just as we as staff build the annual meeting schedule, is if we're going to have, if we're going to have annual meetings around May 20th, then we're going to need to have our April board meeting around April 20th. But then the problem is that April 20th, is not going to be 28 days ahead. It's going to be 30 days ahead, and that's going to make it not on a Wednesday, and it's going to throw a lot of stuff off.
So here's an example. Let's say we have that board meeting, and right after that board meeting, I start an account with LPEA. So I've got an account with you, but I'm not a member because I'm past that board meeting.
Yep.
Then it comes to this record date, and you're saying that that record date, since I'm not a member, so I'm not going to get that ballot or that notice.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I don't get to, I can vote at the in person, but I can't vote via mail.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that's the way we've always had to
then that's
operate.
fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So you are actually
I'm
fine
good.
with this as it's written, as presuming so we're gonna amend it to make this the record date for annual and special meetings in the first paragraph. We're gonna remove the reference to annual meeting in paragraph A, and we're gonna insert ballot after electronic, so it says mail ballot and electronic ballot. We're gonna remove at such meeting, the phrase at such meeting, and then we're going to remove C in its entirety. Is that correct?
That's good for me. Thank you.
All right. So that's Kohler's motion to amend. Do we have a second? Ted, is that you
Second.
seconding? Yep.
Second Kohler's
Right.
motion to
Right.
amend.
So Kohler's motion to amend is now up for debate.
I have a question on that.
Or questions and discussion.
Yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
so the de facto record date is the board meeting before the release date of the voting, right? Because that's the de facto,
Yeah.
because we're not going to have a board meeting on the date of the release. So
Yes.
can't we just say that it's the
So the record
board
date
instead-
before, so the record date shall be the date of,
the most recent board meeting before the sending of the ballot, before the 30 days?
Mhm.
Because otherwise you to Kohler's point, it's not that they're disenfranchised, it's just they're not notified. So we want
Yeah.
to be clear of who's not notified. So we've got this gap, and we all pay attention to the folks who get it after it's been sent, but we kind of have ignored a little bit the folks who are between now, or actually between April 15th and April 20th.
Yeah.
So that's kind of this gap. It gets covered, but it's not explicit.
Yeah. That makes sense, right? Because that's, like you said, de facto what is happening, right? Nobody will become accepted as a member between that regular board meeting and the date that the ballots. Like, to use our example, no one will be accepted as a member between April 15th when the board meets and April 20th when the ballots go out
Right.
this year.
Right.
And so if that's what the board would like to change this to, I'm fine with that because it captures reality. And I think the point about this entire amendment is that it's designed to capture reality and make what we've always had to do more clear to the members
Right.
that we're doing it. So if you want to do it that way, I think that's fine. So it would probably now say the record date for determining the members who are entitled to notice of a meeting of the members and to vote by mail ballot or electronic ballot shall be the regular board meeting immediately preceding the date the mail ballots are mailed according to policy. Is that
Yep.
right? Cole,
Yeah, I think so. Now, I don't know how we
thumbs
do
up
this.
as a friendly amendment accepted? Yep. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
that's real clear.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Tim.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's possible that we could see this in writing before we vote on it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let me, I
If
think that's a great idea. Let me work on,
maybe we
something.
could park this, what do you call it? Recess this?
Continue till later in the meeting.
Yes,
sure.
and then come back to it once we've had a chance to read it, because
Yes, I think
Right.
that's good. And let's see. I think there's a little bit of time coming up in the meeting that I can sort of mentally step out of while I change this and get it back to you all.
present it on the screen so we can see
Yes,
it.
I'll put it on the screen.
Is that okay, Madam Chair?
I approve that change to the agenda, and just as a time check, it's 1:27. I will make sure we're back looking at this by 1:45.
John has his hand up too. Thanks.
Go ahead, John.
So I think we had a motion, so we would need to table this until the written is done, not just leave it hanging.
Yeah, I think that's fine. So do we move to table this for a few minutes while we reorganize somebody have Tim, do you want to make that motion since this was your suggestion? Table it till later in the meeting?
Table it till later in the meeting after we have written confirmation of what we discussed.
Second
Second.
Tim's motion.
And then I think we can immediately
Okay.
proceed to vote on this.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Let's go to board reports. We'll start up with roundup. Anything that needs to be added?
No. Just wanted to say thanks for the input for the 30 for 30. So
Graham?
I was gonna say, I mean, we do still have a couple of other election related
Oh,
agenda items.
I wasn't sure if you would be able to do both.
I think, I mean, hopefully these next two are pretty straight.
Okay.
Go ahead with the way you're proceeding, Madam Chair.
Okay. So next I'll go to CREA. Looks like I don't see a report there.
Right. We meet tomorrow and Friday.
Okay.
So
Thank you for your work.
nothing new. I have been sending out some legislative updates, and nothing fabulously new there either. So I'll have a new report next month.
Okay, thank you, Kirsten. Western United from
Yeah.
our treasurer.
Yeah, and I'll be running the Budget and Finance Committee for Western United Electric April 22nd. And unfortunately, the Western United Electric meeting is the 23rd, so I will miss our Community PowerX Regional Energy Forum, which I wish I could be there. So, any questions? I did have the finances in the package. All right, thank y'all.
Right. Now back to Kirsten with Tri-State.
Yes, so this was our last meeting as a member of Tri-State. Their board meetings, they were very gracious in acknowledging that was our last appearance and emphasized the ongoing relationship that we will maintain. 2 points I wanted to highlight. One I highlighted earlier about the SPP Western RTO. Tri-State has been in parallel operations with SPP since March 1, and they're flushing out remaining defects. There's some items like tagging and settlements that is going to initially rely on manual workflows. So they're rating their project risk at yellow, but they're not seeing it as any blockers. And then also WEIS, which is the Western Imbalance Service, terminates the same time. So we will no longer be working with Wacom. We'll be working with SPP. I think I've got that right. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is DSM, DR, and electrification. So in the same way that we deal with, we're trying to promote electrification and make things, and at the same time make things more efficient. So we're trying to get more electricity sold, but at the same time control when it's used to help with our peaks and balances. Tri-State's working that same thing, and so that balancing will continue. And I think that's something that a member had brought up a couple of months ago during the open session about well, how can you be asking for, yes, please use your electric lawnmower, and at the same time saying, we need to not grow too much. And it's mostly by controlling our load. So they're dealing with the same thing. I just wanted to highlight that. Any questions? Everything's uploaded on the Google Drive. And then I had a fairly lengthy report here, but those are the two I really wanted to hit on. Any questions? Kohler?
It's not a question, just a comment. And I'd really like to thank you for the time you put in and the reports you've given us on Tri-State. They've been really, really good, and I think very powerful. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
All right, Madam President, I'm ready to resume the bylaw amendment if you're ready.
So I want to just finish real quick with reports. Rachel had asked me prior to the meeting if she could do an update on her Cooperative 101, and then we'll go right back to you, and then that way we'll be complete with this portion of our meeting. Rachel, you want to speak to the board?
Thanks, all. Yeah, this was part of the original proposal that I would do a report monthly on what was going on. And so this is just reflecting other engagements and primarily the big learning lessons that people have been reporting from their Board 101 member engagement opportunities. And so you'll see this in the very end of our board packet. And I think the biggest thing to highlight was what came from Nicole's presentation. And it reflects what we saw in the member satisfaction survey, where there's seemed to be some concern around the demand charge. So just something to noodle on for the future. And then there's a couple of upcoming things signed up for in District 3 that I've got going on if anyone wants to join me. And then lastly, as was brought up today, Tim's really been noodling on some interesting ideas around member engagement and how to structure that in an approachable way for the power supply. If anyone wants to join in on that conversation, Tim's your point. Okay. And I hope folks will get out there. They are really the comments I've got are people are very interested and excited, and it now feels clearer what we are doing. So thanks everyone for your help on that.
Hey, Rachel, you said that you had a meeting. Who did you meet with? And can you send notice of your next meetings, times, dates, etc.?
You got it. Yeah, this last one was a group of 30-something young professionals, the title of which is, oh, it's something very silly. I just put it into the report. It's like the opinionated, uninformed crew. They do this lecture series. So there's something like that. But yeah, I'll send you info about
Where did you find out about this group?
Oh, they reached out to me.
I'm sorry, they what?
Similar to Nicole, right? It was just direct outreach. Someone was like,
Oh,
hey,
okay.
can you come share?
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Rachel, for that report. And now I will pass the mic back to Graham.
Can everyone see my screen? So we've changed this paragraph to say an annual or special meeting of the members. Removed reference to annual in paragraph A. Added electronic ballot. Removed at such meeting, and so it now says the record date for determining the members who are entitled to notice of a meeting of the members and to vote by mail ballot or electronic ballot shall be the date of the regular meeting of the board of directors immediately before the mail ballots are mailed according to policy. And then B, we were leaving unchanged, I believe, and C, we are removing in its entirety. Does that look correct?
Give us a moment to read, please.
Yeah. I believe we want to remove this reference to annual here.
You have another annual to move.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Joe, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, let's let everybody else have any. I don't have a question directly on the wording here, so if anyone else has something, I'll let them speak first.
So yeah, we're resuming the motion to amend. Right. Kirsten, I see your hand up. No, okay.
Yeah, after we vote, I'll just have a question for you after we vote on this.
Do we have any other questions or comments anybody would like while I'm still sharing? Because like it's a lot easier for us to count the votes virtually when I'm not screen sharing. All ready to stop sharing then? Okay. All right, so it seems like we're ready to proceed to a vote on the proposed amendment. All in favor of Kohler's suggested amendments? 1, 2, 3.
The motion that he made.
That looks unanimous. All right, and so we would now resume the main motion, which is to adopt this as amended and to begin the discussion on that. Hand it over to Joe.
Okay, I'm going to wait till after this vote to make my comment. Thank you.
Okay, Kirsten.
I think this is the perfect policy. I think it takes into account that we don't want to disenfranchise our voters. It makes it really clear, and it really helps staff to be able to say, yes, this was the date, this is the rule. So after this date, you have to come and to the meeting. So I think it's the perfect policy at the perfect time, and I appreciate folks for doing this.
Any other comments or debate on the main motion? Let's go to vote. All in favor of adopting resolution as presented or as amended? 1,
Aye.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's unanimous.
Could you state the resolution number for the record?
Yes, just 1 second. 2026-04.
Thank you.
All right. And so I believe Joe had a related comment to this topic.
Yeah, so this goes out in the ballot, correct?
Yes.
So can we do a sentence or something just to say this is a housekeeping sort of item meant to clarify who can vote?
Yes, so we would
Sorry
include
for the legal language, but
yeah.
Okay.
When the board puts these to the membership, we typically include a brief about the board recommends the adoption of this amendment and for these reasons. And we would typically have staff, in my recollection, we've typically had staff just prepare a summary of the debates, the reasons why, for example, Kirsten's comment right before the vote adopting it sort of indicate that this is a housekeeping matter and that it makes it clear. It doesn't change how we operate, but it makes it clear to the members when they're entitled to receive mail and electronic ballots and when they'll be limited to in-person voting.
Okay, I'll just say less is more with this little explanation.
So what you're saying is you don't want me to write that.
I didn't say that.
We can have somebody better than me do that.
All right, so we're done with that item of business. We have 2 more items of business. We need to finish the next 20 minutes. The next one is the resolution to cancel director elections for unopposed districts. There's a memo, a resolution in your packet. I will accept a motion. Go ahead, Joe.
So move.
Second.
Okay, so this is a motion for resolution 2026-07, the cancellation of the 2026 director elections in District 2, which was unopposed. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes unanimously. The last item of business today is the resolution 2026-05, the ratification of action taken by the executive committee. I guess, Graham, if you want to just do a quick explanation of what this is.
Yes. So as the board should all be familiar with, because you were all included on the communications with the executive committee, we had an urgent need to get a letter of credit from our bank, CFC, to SPP in order to make sure we had SPP's credit requirements met. And I have to give a huge shout out to Chris and Matt and Bobby and Dwayne at CFC because they really, really went above and beyond in pulling this all together to hit SPP's deadlines. It was, Greg and Monica had been working with SPP for a long, long time to try and get a straight answer out of them about what they needed, which is why this sort of didn't get addressed earlier, and SPP was not particularly forthcoming with information that we needed. But when it finally came through, we realized that for us to be able to participate in some pre-SPP go live functions, we needed to have this letter of credit in place last week. And thanks to the Herculean efforts of CFC, we were able to get that accomplished. So thank you very much to them. And thank you very much to the executive committee for coming together so quickly to do this. And then under our policies, the full board has the opportunity to ratify actions taken by the executive committee in between board meetings. And so we have a proposed resolution to ratify that action.
Thank you.
What would be pending? Yeah.
Do we have a motion for that ratification?
So moved.
Okay, and seconded by Kirsten. Any discussion about this? Tim, I see your hand.
Yeah, that was for a discussion previously, which on the previous motion, but I'll hold that for a second and just state that it's worth noting that this letter of credit is additional to what we already have, that is specific for the utilization of our position in SPP, that we don't anticipate using it. It's more of a requirement rather than an anticipated need at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong in that, Chris or Monica. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that, and I hope I hope that will be ratified. Thanks. And then I still will keep my hand up because I want to go back to the previous one. Thanks.
Kohler?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the one in the packet. I don't know if that's most current, but just a quick correction in the paragraph I, John Witchell, the date on the second to the last line, 2026-1, just the one needs to be eliminated. Just a quick correction.
Thank you for catching that, Kohler. Any other comments before I open the floor for a vote? All in favor of passing the ratification? Signal by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay,
Did you
so
name-
that has been ratified, and now I'll let Tim.
Yeah, so thank you. One thing is that particular resolution, could we just name it again? I didn't hear
Yes.
that. 2020.
Resolution 2026-05, the ratification of action taken by the executive committee.
Right. And on the previous one, cancellation of an election in D2, Graham, could you clarify when that new director takes their seat on the board?
Yes. So under our bylaws, the new director will be deemed elected as of the election date. So as though it were a contested election, right? So the incumbent directors for District 2 will continue the term through the end of the annual meeting, and then upon the certification of the results of the contested election, Greg Barber will become the new director for District 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course, appreciate that clarification. And with that, we are at the end of our meeting. Anyone want to bring up any topics of discussion before we adjourn? I see Joe's hand up.
Yeah, just real quick, do board members need to register for the PowerX thing, or are we automatically registered?
Please register.
Okay.
Kirsten?
Yeah, did we miss the attorney update? You did it?
I did not give it because we kind of skipped straight to the director reports while I was typing.
Okay.
So Nicole, I would just orally state that my attorney report is contained in the board packet, and if any directors have any question on that written report.
On the record.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten. Anybody else? Okay, I see Dusty.
Yeah, just while we were all together, I was wondering who all was going to make the April 2nd training over in Montrose. Just Joe, and I got selected for jury duty that day. I'm seeing if it gets canceled, I'll be there. So we'll see there, Joe.
Chris, you want to say something?
The complication is, well, April 1st. So I think I'm just going to drive over early in the morning too. So just FYI, if you get canceled, we could maybe go together.
Yeah, just one final reminder. This went out by email as well, but our next board meeting is April 15th in Pagosa Springs in person. So just to not have any question about the logistics, looking forward to seeing everybody in Pagosa on April 15th. hopefully you file your taxes before coming to the board meeting.
I'll
It
be.
also marks the annual surf pilgrimage for any board of directors or staff who are interested. So bring your river boards and your wetsuits.
Second annual.
And, I will be traveling in Asia at that time, so I doubt I'll be there virtually. Maybe it'll go a lot quicker as a board meeting. Who knows? Thanks.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you for a good meeting this afternoon, and I will see you all in person quite a few times, I think, in April, but nothing else. You'll be coming to our side of Yellow Jacket for the next board meeting.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Call
Bye.
10 minutes early.